Happy Easter, everyone. So one of the common questions that students often ask me, Father Manh, that's my name. How do I know Jesus' resurrection is real? I happen to have a scientific mind. I need to see it to believe it. How do I know Jesus' resurrection is real? I think this is great questions. That's one thing I like about our students. They dare to ask the questions. How do I know Jesus' resurrection is real? If you and I ever ask a similar question, we are Thomas' twin. Today's Gospel, John described Thomas called Didymus, one of the 12. The word Didymus literally means twin. The Gospel of John was written between roughly 90 to 100 AD after Jesus resurrected. For the third or the second generation of Christians. For the second or the third generation of Christians. Which means these people, none of them have seen the disciples. Like us, these early Christians asked very similar questions. How do I know Jesus' resurrection is real? And how can I experience the risen Christ in my daily life? And what difference does Jesus' resurrection make any difference in my life? If you and I ever ask those kind of questions, today's gospel, Jesus answers our questions. Touch and see. Imagine this scene, the locked door. On the evening of the first day of the week, a group of guys, Jesus followers, hid themselves in the room and the doors was locked. Why? Why lock the doors? Because of fears of the Jews. As you know, the door can be open or closed. Not just closed, the disciples lock the doors for fears of the Jews. What were they afraid of? What were they afraid of? They were afraid of being arrested, tortured, and killed, just like the masters. If I were them, I probably do the same. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that drive all of our human behaviors. So what did they do? They locked the doors and hid themselves. Now, in the midst of their fears and locking the door, sadness and despair, Jesus walked through that locked door and stood in the midst and said, "Peace be with you." And Jesus said twice, "Peace be with you." And then what happened? Jesus showed his hands and his side. Jesus wanted his disciples to touch and see his hands and his sides. In today's gospel, we hear over and over the word and the verb see, S-E-E. Disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord. They tell Thomas, "I have seen the Lord." And Thomas was not with his friends when Jesus came. So Thomas said, "Unless I see the mark, the nails in his hands, and put my finger into the nail marks and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." So as you know the story, a week later, Jesus once again walked through the locked door and said, "Thomas, put your finger here and see my hands. And bring your hand and put into my side. Touch and see." What did Jesus want them to touch and see? His hands and his side. So what does Jesus' hands and side remind the disciples of? Remind them of two things. One, his own suffering and death because of people crucify him, torture him, and kill him. and because of their sins, betrayal, denial, run away, being silent. Look at my hands and my side. This is how much I love you. I have given you all of me. I have given you all of me. I have shared all of your human suffering, including death. What did Jesus want them to touch and see? I want you to touch and see my wounds, my love and mercy. I want you to touch and see my wounds, my love and mercy. And that's why Pope Paul II declared the second Sunday of Easter, which is today, as Divine Mercy Sunday. As Pope Paul II once said, Divine Mercy is the Easter gift for humanity. The second message, Jesus wants his disciples and us to know that Jesus has transformed human suffering and death into life and freedom. Jesus basically tells you and me, I can transform your fears, your locked door, your denials, your despairs, your brokenness into peace, joy, and life. So church, this is good news, right? Yes? Yes. Come on, help me out. Let's give God a big applause. So the risen Christ is no longer limited by the physical time and space. Jesus can walk into our locked door of fears, anxieties, despairs, disappointment, or shame. He can give you and me the wonderful gift, peace and joy. How? Touch and see my wounds. My wounds remind you of my love and mercy for you, and my victory over suffering and death. So let me share with you 3 short stories as a way to illustrate how we can experience the risen Christ today. The first story is Easter Vigil. Just in case if you happen to be in the Easter Vigil, that was a very powerful moment for me. And that is about 14, 15 young people, college students, and early 20s, line up. To me, that's a beautiful scenery. And Father Boom said, do you believe Satan? I do. Do you believe in God? The one who created you, the one who loves you, the one who redeemed you, the one who guides you and be with you. They said, I do, I do, I do. They want to choose body of Christ. Just in case you don't know, studies show 78% of young people decide to leave the Catholic Church by the age of 23. You're absolutely right. But these young people, college students and early 20s, they step forward. They want to be baptized. They want to be confirmed. They want to be initiated. They want to immerse and bury themselves with the death of Christ so that they can rise with Christ to experience the joy, the life, and freedom and peace that Jesus has promised. What makes them joy? If they happen to be here, if you don't mind to stand up. If you happen to be baptized or confirmed this last Easter Vigil, if you don't mind to stand up, because I see some of you. Don't be shy. Yes, Juan and Young Min. Thank you. Oh, and Kosin. Thank you. Thank you so much for standing up. And your yes inspire us. And really your stories, your yes is a testimony that Jesus is alive, that Jesus has walked into your locked door to bring you out for life, peace, and joy. Second story. Last Sunday, the whole church celebrated the victory of the risen Christ, right? The whole church celebrated the victory of Christ. The peace and joy of Easter Sunday was shattered by the gruesome bombing that killed more than 300 people in Sri Lanka churches and hotels. So I woke up and I saw the newspapers. The San Diego Tribune has a front image, a photo on the front page with the image of Saint Sebastian Church in Negombo, Sri Lanka. I was caught up or intrigued by the image of the statue of Christ and asked myself, why was the statue of Christ still standing? So I was curious, and I looked it up online, and I found that actually this statue of Christ is a statue of the risen Christ. Christ have the hand like this, and have his side like this. And what did I see? What did I see? I see full of blood on his body. That's what I saw. If you look at online, the statue of risen Christ stand like this, you see the human blood still stay on his body. To me, that's a beautiful image and a beautiful message for you and me, that Christ is still here, Christ is still alive, and Christ is still sharing our human suffering. And the good news is, he can transform our human suffering, our hatreds and revengeance into peace, joy, and freedom. Third story is our family right here. In a minute, they will come forward. They want their child to be baptized. Ladies and just brothers and sisters, Christ is alive here and now.